Have you ever felt like something inside you was missing? Like there's a deeper version of yourself just out of reach, more aware, more powerful, more connected, but no matter how hard you try, you can't quite access it? Now imagine this. What if, before you were even born, something sacred was encoded into your soul, a spiritual code, unique, divine, and powerful beyond measure? And what if, somewhere along the way, that code was deliberately erased, not by accident, not by nature, but by design? It didn't happen all at once. It happened quietly, through repetition, through culture, through school, religion, politics, media, through systems designed to mold you into something they could control. They gave you labels. They gave you fears. They told you who you were allowed to be, and everything else, your intuition, your gifts, your connection to God, was slowly buried under layers of doubt, shame, and silence. But here's the truth. That code is still inside you. It was never destroyed, only hidden, dormant. If you've ever felt that you were different, if you've ever sensed a quiet ache inside, like your soul was calling out but no one around you could hear it, if you've ever felt like the world was too shallow for the depth you carry, you're not broken, you're not lost, you are awakening. And I need you to hear this. You didn't land on this video by mistake. You were drawn here because some part of you, maybe a part you've forgotten, knows that something sacred was taken from you, and it's time to get it back. This isn't about religion. This is about remembering. This is about energy, frequency, identity. It's about returning to what was stolen. You've lived in a world that never wanted you to ask certain questions. Who am I? Why am I here? Why do I feel like I was meant for something more? Because deep down, your soul remembers the code, and your soul has been trying to wake you up. What if I told you that your memories, your intuition, your dreams, your pain, what if they're not just random? What if they're proof that your energy field has been vibrating with truth you've been too distracted to understand until now? In this video, I'm going to reveal exactly when your spiritual code was buried, how it was done, who benefits from your forgetfulness, and how you can begin to reactivate what was lost through divine reconnection, quantum awareness, and the power of choice. But before we go deeper, I want to ask something from you. If even a small part of you is feeling a shift right now, like something deep within you is being stirred, even if you can't explain it yet, don't ignore that. That's not emotion. That's recognition. Click the like button right now if you feel this message speaking directly to your soul. Subscribe to the channel if you've ever felt like you didn't belong, like you were made for something greater. Turn on notifications, because what we're building here is more than a channel. It's a movement, a global wave of souls awakening to their divine identity. You weren't created to be confused. You weren't created to live numb. You were created with a purpose, encoded with power, and designed to connect directly to the source. Now take a breath. Stay with me, because what comes next will challenge what you've believed your entire life and awaken what has been waiting within you all along. Let's begin. There was once a boy, quiet, observant, always sensing more than what was in front of him. From the time he could speak, he asked questions no one else around him was asking. He saw lights that others didn't see. He heard whispers in silence. He felt the pull of something greater, something he couldn't explain. At night, he would lie in bed staring at the ceiling, feeling waves of energy roll through him that had no name. No one taught him these things. No one acknowledged them. They simply existed inside of him, like echoes of another lifetime. But the world doesn't make room for those who remember. It tells them to be quiet, to behave, to fit in. And so, little by little, that boy stopped asking. He stopped listening. He pushed it down, buried it deep. What was once a vibrant connection to something divine became a shadow, and that's when the code began to dim. This happens to so many of us. We're born with a divine code, a spiritual blueprint written before we ever take our first breath. It's not random. It holds our soul purpose, our gifts, our mission on earth. But the systems we're born into, education, media, culture, aren't designed to nurture it. They're designed to suppress it, to overwrite it, to make us forget. Have you ever felt like you're living a life that doesn't quite feel like yours? Like you're walking through the motions but your soul is somewhere else? That deep, invisible emptiness, like you're disconnected from yourself, from God, from your truth, is not failure. It's a symptom of something sacred being silenced. It's not you failing life. It's your soul reacting to the erasure of something ancient. This is what spiritual awakening often looks like in the beginning. Not fireworks, not light shows, just emptiness, disconnection, questions that seem to have no answer. But the truth is, those questions are the answer. They're the sign that your divine code is still there, quietly vibrating beneath everything they told you to be. They're your hidden memory trying to surface, and it's not your fault that it was buried. The world rewards conformity and punishes intuition, so you learn to shut it down. You learn to call it imagination, or worse, insanity. But the boy you used to be, the one who sensed more, felt more, knew more, never left. He's still inside you, waiting, watching, whispering. And if you've made it this far in the video, it's probably because you've started to hear him again. Maybe you've started to feel that same vibration in your chest, that quiet stirring in your spirit that says, there's something more, you're something more. If that's resonating with you right now, don't ignore it. Say it out loud. And if you feel safe, write yes in the comments. Let this be your signal to the universe that you're ready to remember. Because what you were told was normal was actually the process of forgetting. Forgetting your divine origin, forgetting your light, forgetting the frequency of your soul, and what they call reality may just be the greatest illusion ever created, one designed to keep you asleep, disconnected, and spiritually silent. But the silence is breaking. What you called confusion was actually a message. What you called anxiety, disconnection, doubt, it wasn't weakness. It was the signal that something sacred inside of you had been tampered with. Because that's what happens when your spiritual code is erased. Slowly, strategically, without your consent. They don't come for you with violence. They come with repetition, with rules, with stories that look safe but strip you of everything real. From the moment you enter this world, you're assigned a name, a role, an identity that has nothing to do with your soul. You are told what to believe, what not to question, what to fear. You're told which truths are acceptable and which must be buried. And in that process, through every should, every don't, every this is just how life is, your divine code is overwritten. Your memory becomes a shadow. You forget that you were ever anything more. It doesn't happen in one moment. It happens over years, layers, little lies that become laws inside you. And soon, your inner knowing becomes a whisper you don't even trust anymore. The spiritual thieves don't need to steal your power. They just need to convince you it never existed. They don't need to block your divine mission. They only need to flood you with noise until you forget you had one. That's how you become spiritually numb. Not broken, just buried. Do you remember the first time you felt ashamed for being different? The first time you shut down a strange dream or ignored a deep gut feeling because the world told you it didn't make sense? That was part of it. That was the slow deletion, one line of code at a time. And by the time you reached adulthood, you were wearing a personality that was built on survival, not on truth. When he looked in the mirror, he didn't recognize himself. That moment of stillness, of emptiness, it hit him like a wave. He realized the person he saw wasn't whole. Something had been taken, not physically, but spiritually. What was left were fragments, echoes, a vague sense that something powerful had once lived inside him. But it was gone now. That kind of crisis doesn't come from the outside. It comes from the soul, when it finally wakes up and sees what's been stolen. We've all had those moments, moments we dismissed because we couldn't explain them. But now, looking back, we know better. We understand. What we thought were coincidences, dreams, random emotions, they were signs, warnings, clues left behind by your true self. What was the sign you ignored, but now see clearly for what it was? Was it a repeating number? A sudden loss? A dream that felt more real than waking life? I want you to write it in the comments right now. That small action might be the first step toward taking your power back. This awakening isn't just about realizing you've been lied to. It's about tracing the trail back to what was lost, back to the version of you that remembers. The world made forgetting seem like growing up, but forgetting is not maturity. Forgetting is manipulation. And once you see the mechanics of how it happened, how your code was erased, you can never unsee it. And now that you see it, the question becomes, what will you do with this truth? Even after everything that was stripped away from you, the truth never died. Your spiritual code wasn't destroyed. It was only put to sleep, buried beneath beliefs that were never yours, fears that were never born in your soul, and expectations that were never aligned with your divine purpose. But just because something sleeps doesn't mean it ceases to exist. And now, something ancient inside you is waking up. The first shift is subtle, a sense that the noise of the world no longer distracts you the way it used to, a deeper sensitivity to energy, a sudden memory that doesn't belong to this life, a dream so vivid it feels more real than the day. These are not coincidences. These are awakening signs, fragments of your soul resurfacing as your spiritual code begins to reactivate. This is the journey of reconnection, and it doesn't start in your mind. It begins in your spirit. It starts with a quiet decision to stop running, to stop numbing, to stop pretending that the void inside you is normal, because it's not. That void is sacred space, space meant to be filled with divine alignment, not distraction. And in this moment, you have the power to begin. The first step is reconnection, not to an idea, but to the source, to God. This isn't about religion. It's about returning to your true origin. When you reconnect with God in purity and presence, something happens inside you. You start remembering what the world told you to forget. You start feeling what was once numb. That's divine alignment. Then you begin to recognize the signs, the patterns, the way the universe keeps whispering your name through synchronicities, repeating numbers, flashes of emotion. You begin to realize that you were never disconnected, only distracted. And now, those signs are pulling you home. But before you can move forward, you must release what held you back. You must free yourself from the chains that were wrapped around your light. These chains aren't always visible. Sometimes they look like people. Sometimes they sound like your own voice. Sometimes they feel like comfort. But true inner freedom means choosing truth over comfort, alignment over approval, light over illusion. Only then can you step into the mission, the sacred purpose you were encoded with. This is where your spiritual code becomes active again, where remembrance of the soul becomes power in the present. Your mission as a chosen one is not about grandeur, it's about presence. You are not here to perform, you are here to remember, to carry a frequency that disrupts the noise of this world and brings others back to their own truth. She felt it too, the weight, the invisible burden that followed her everywhere. For years she thought she was broken, lost, or cursed. But the day she realized it wasn't her fault, that it was never her weakness, but the world's programming, something broke open inside her. That was the beginning. From that moment on, she stopped asking for permission to be whole. She started rewriting her story, and everything began to shift. If any part of this is resonating with you right now, even if it's just a whisper, it means your code is waking up. You're not alone in this. And if you feel ready to start reclaiming your truth, your light, your purpose, then let this be your sign. Tap the like button now. Not because I asked, but because your soul is responding. That's the vibration of truth rising again. And we're just getting started. So now we've seen it. The truth that so many never dare to look at. Today, you discovered that your spiritual code was erased. Not by accident, but by design. We traced the path they used. Systems built on control, fear, repetition, distraction. We exposed the ways you were told to forget who you are. We walked through the silence, through the cracks in your memory, through the deep ache that never made sense. Until now. And then we began to remember. You began to remember. But here's what might shock you the most. Even though it felt like everything had been taken from you, even though the emptiness seemed permanent, even though you've spent years believing you were too far gone, your code was never destroyed, not even touched. It was simply waiting, waiting for you to say yes, waiting for your consciousness to come back online, waiting for your heart to get quiet enough to hear what was always whispering underneath the noise. The truth is, what was placed in you before you were born, the divine blueprint, the mission, the frequency, it cannot be stolen. It cannot be erased. It cannot be broken, because what comes from God is eternal. It lives in the quantum space of your soul, beyond time, beyond trauma, beyond illusion. That is your inheritance. That is your birthright. That is what they tried to hide from you, and what your spirit is reclaiming right now. Even if you feel like you've made too many mistakes, missed too many signs, taken too long, listen to me. God has not forgotten you, not for 1 second. You were never lost. You were only asleep. And now you're waking up, not to a new reality, but to the real one, the one your soul has known all along. This awakening is not a trend. It's not a phase. It's a sacred return. And it begins the moment you accept that the divine never left you, that your purpose is still alive, that your light is needed now more than ever. And what comes next is everything. Because once you remember the code, you begin to live differently. You stop chasing the world and start listening to the whisper of your spirit. You stop looking for answers in noise and start hearing truth in stillness. You begin to walk a path that was written only for you, and in walking it, you light the way for others. But there's something else, something deeper. You've always felt it, that feeling of not belonging, that sense of being out of place, even when surrounded by others, that ache for home, even though you're standing in your own house. That's not isolation, that's identity trying to surface. And if you've always felt different, then the next message is for you. In the next video, we go deeper into that very feeling, the one you've never been able to explain. The title is, You Always Felt Different? Now you'll understand why. You don't want to miss it. Click the notification bell now so you'll be the first to watch, because that episode may just unlock the final piece you've been searching for. And now I want to hear from you. This part matters. What spoke to you the loudest? What cracked you open? What part of this video made you cry, made you remember, made you breathe deeper than you have in years? Write it down in the comments right now. Your words matter. Your voice matters. Share your awakening. Write the phrase, "My code is awakening," if you feel it. Or just drop the word "remember" if something inside of you has shifted. Let's fill the comments with resonance. Let's show the algorithm that this kind of message still matters. And if you know someone who's been feeling the same silence, the same weight, the same quiet calling, send this video to them. Be the one who holds the lantern. Be the one who helps another soul remember. Because now, it's your turn to activate your code. And we're just getting started.